Well, hello to you all, and first of all, thank you very much for the very warm welcome. It has been a bumpy ride the last couple of days, and with good and bad things that have turned out, but it's a big honor for me to be here, and it's of course also a reference towards the Hertie School of Governance and all of you that I am here. I don't think I will get any less busy within the next 5 months, so I can rather be here just as well today. And it's a subject I'm interested in very much. I wrote my PhD about election and democracy processes in Europe, so this is something I really like to do. I haven't practiced my English for a long time, so I hope this works out more or less well. My part is to give you well, the point of view of a political practitioner, and I think that for me the governance report reveals two key lessons, and the first is that there are things that we can do. There are possibilities, we can act, and the second is that I quote this: managing and caring for democracy is a matter of constant questioning and monitoring. So that is what we do here today, and what we also do within our party. We have a board that we call the Fundamental Value Board, Grundwertekommission, and Wolfgang Merkel is part of it. So we do discuss questions like these constantly. I don't want to make too many remarks about the notion of what is a populist and what makes populism dangerous or maybe not, because that is something that actually is being thrown at us every now and again too. I mean, people told us that Martin Schulz was a populist just because he said that some things in German society are not fair in this rich and wealthy and well-working society. Okay, I would say if it is saying things in a way that people understand what you're saying, even if you're a politician, that for me is not being a populist. Making politics accessible, making it understandable is not being a populist. For me, actually, being a populist is ignoring facts, is inventing your own facts, and it is this turning that we've already seen against everything that is called establishment, whatever that means. I must admit that for me, being establishment still is something that I can't relate to, because I've led a very normal life for 40-odd years with a normal job, a normal family, a normal house in a normal town, and then I decided to stand up for election, and I got elected. So that was in 2013, and now I'm establishment. I mean, I don't feel establishment, and if people reproach that I am active in politics, I think that is what people should do if they want to change what society is about. I mean, and I didn't join my party 24 years ago to become a member of parliament. That was not my aim at all. But now I am, and I do my best to make this society and this country fairer and better. And well, but according to a lot of people, as far as I can see on my Facebook account, I am establishment. For me, populism becomes dangerous and threatening when it is related to, as we just heard, having the only, being the only party or the only people who have the truth, who have seen the truth, who have seen the light, and that everyone who stands up against you is against democracy, is against the people. I really share the point of view of Professor Müller on that point. And of course, for me, the most threatening part of it is the right-wing populism, because it is so dividing, because it puts up people against each other concerning notions that you can't influence concerning religion. Well, you can influence religion, but concerning race, concerning sex, concerning gender, concerning sexual identity, whatever, putting up people against each other, and that is something that every right-wing populist party does across the world. And they are usually nationalistic, they are xenophobic, they are anti-Semitic, they are anti-pluralist, and that is what worries me about what is being called populism. And we see that rising in Germany, but we see it all over Europe and the world. And of course, people ask us too, what are the reasons for this rise of populist party, right-wing populist parties? And a lot of people explain it with social reasons or with economic reasons. And that might be true for certain countries. I believe that is true probably for the United States. I always said, so as you did, so why do we have right-wing populism much more massively than we do in Germany, in the Scandinavian countries, where you have a social system that is really, I mean, nobody really has to starve in Sweden or Norway. And they have seen right-wing populism far earlier than we have, and in a far bigger number. So I don't believe that really is the point. I think the point is that it has something to do with identity, with cultural aspects. That I know it best for Germany, of course. People feel left behind, not so much or not only in an economic way, but in a cultural way. I don't think that it is by accident that so many elder men are part of right-wing movements, because I think equality between men and women is something that frightens some elder men. And what they do, what all right-wing populist parties do, is to give the promise, we'll go back to the good old times. We'll go back we'll leave the European Union behind and we'll concentrate on our national state. All this gender stuff, that's all rubbish. Our German right-wing populists just stated that a couple of weeks ago, that is going the complete wrong way. And so I believe that is something that really joins all the right-wing populists throughout the world, that they try to gather all these people who feel in some way not understood or left behind. And and so because all these parties and all these countries are so different, there is not one recipe that we hold to fight against right-wing populism. Of course, what we have to do is to care about the economic subjects, of course. That's something that we as Social Democrats always do. And when it comes to this identity culture thing, of course, for people like me, the question is how to react to that, because even if 95% of the population thought that people who have darker skin should not have the right to live here, I wouldn't accept that or adopt this position. So we cannot adopt their positions, but we have to deal with it. Because we, as progressive forces in politics, always think, well, it's a matter of good arguments. You know, you have to, if you just explain it well, people will understand. No, they won't. People like Alexander Gauland and Steve Bannon won't understand that that is the wrong position. So we have to just deal with these forces that are there and try to avoid them infecting society. I think that is what we can do. So There are some signs that give me hope. It's the Pulse of Europe, Marches for Europe movement, of course. A lot of young people who feel that they can do something, that they can. There is something, even if you don't want to join a political party, there is something that you can do. We, as Social Democrats in Germany, at the moment see that joining our party obviously is popular, believe it or not. We have had 16,000 new members in this year, which is enormous. We've had 13,000 the whole last year. And the most interesting part is 40% of these 16,000 are young people. We consider young people being younger than 35. So 40% are younger than 35. I mean, that is something that we haven't seen for decades, since Willy Brandt, I would say. And so that gives me hope. What else can we do? I mean, we're going to talk about a lot of these things, referendum and whatever else you can introduce. What I find very, very important, and that is what I will end with, is that we need to state that democratic conflict is something precious, something important, something necessary. We've had that, at least in Germany, for the last 11 years, seeing a government that gives you the feeling everything's fine, you don't really have to bother, political conflict is something that we don't really need. I mean, just trust me. And at the moment we see the opposite, and I think that does us good as a country, that in Germany people start to discuss again about fairness, about economic resources, about whatever. And that politics are a subject again in the families, in the neighborhood. People are discussing again, and that is something that is absolutely important for a living democracy and for democratic resilience. I love that notion. I'm going to keep that in mind. And what we can do, when I was asked to become Secretary General, what I said was, usually Secretary Generals are aggressive, and you really have to be the watchdog, and you have to attack everyone who hasn't, who can't get away fast enough. And you don't know me, but that's not my character at all. I used to be a judge. I'm very. I like to get people together and to find a compromise and whatever. So I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do that whenever it is necessary, but I'm not going to do that every day and just, What I'm going to do is I try to explain politics, because I think that is something that is really important at the moment. I think a lot of people just don't understand what we're doing, because it is becoming more and more complicated. I mean, this fair trade agreement, for example, it is so extremely complex. How on earth can somebody, we can't expect anybody to really understand what is going on in 600 pages and 5 years of negotiations. But people want to understand what is happening. So our job is to explain, and also to state that democracy is about compromise. I think that is important too, because we always hear, but you promised that in your party program. And I always say, no, a party program is not a promise, because usually you don't have 51 or more %. So you have to be in a coalition, and that means that you have to find a compromise. And that is not betraying the elector. That is something that is absolutely necessary. There's no other way. And that is something that I try to tell these 16,000 people joining our party too. You won't always find everything cool that we're doing. There will be points where you say, this is rubbish, what you are proposing. I'm not at all. This is not my position at all. But, I mean, if you want to be 100% in line with your political party, you have to join one yourself and let nobody else in. it is not going to happen. As soon as you're in a party with several people, and we have 440,000 people, you have to compromise. And that is something that has become negative. And I think we have to work on that too. We have to explain that that is how democracy works and that in the end it is a good thing. I try to do that, and I'm looking forward to the discussion with these three very intelligent and smart young men. Thank you very much.